Keeping with tonight's theme about books, Duane Scott Cerny found some interesting ones up in my attic.
What's in your attic?
Okay, Duane Scott Cerny, what do you have for me this week?
Well, I thought today we should look at vintage children's books and do something. This first one's going to be a little serious but very timely, and then something a little lighter. So the
Okay.
first one we're going to show you, hit it, Russell, is Meet Abraham Lincoln. Now take a good look at that picture, because it's a bit prophetic given the fact the rifle goes through his head. Notice that? Yeah. So we're getting this ready for the kids already, that this is not going to have a happy ending. Now, this was written in 1965 and actually was pulled together in 1964. And think about it, wow, they were going to do a book about Lincoln and the assassination right on the heels of the Kennedy assassination. So kind of interesting. And though this is a kid's book and no sentence is really more than 5 or 6 words long, they cover his life. It's a biography of Lincoln. And wow, think about what an interesting life that was and what it meant to the country and what it has to encompass. So slavery, you're teaching children about slavery. Like, hello, yeah, slavery really happened and it wasn't a choice. Yeah, this is just so timely. I actually enjoyed reading this book. And
it probably wouldn't be allowed in some schools today.
Exactly, because it's true. Yeah. No fake news here. It was and then just how they addressed just the horror of the war, again, to children, and just how, I mean, it really states that, there would be 2 countries now if it wasn't for Abraham Lincoln. It was just saying that's not the way it's going to go. So
now, who published this book? Was it a part of a series?
No. This actually wasn't part of the series. I take it back. Yeah, and this was called a step-up book, and it was done by Random House. And it's a very nicely illustrated. We can, if you want to go to here it begins. Abraham Lincoln has been dead for 100 years. So right from the start, it's not going to be a laugh riot for kids. But so it's a pretty serious book. But it's a really serious topic. And it changed the country. And when you look at where we're at now, and yes, he was a Republican, although we really don't know how he would stand on many of today's topics. It's hard to say. It's hard, just hard to say. Other than the fact that, and I thought this was interesting, when he was 17, he went down a raft on the Ohio River, and he went to New Orleans. First time he ever been in a big city, and he saw a slave market where people were actually being auctioned off. And because he was from a non-slave state, he'd never seen that before. Right then, it was like, this is wrong. And it changed his life. And, in the end, it would change the course of the country. You want to go to another photo? This is just what a troubled life he had in deciding what's the right thing to do with bringing the country back. Yeah, you had a question?
Such neat illustrations too.
They're good. Yeah, they're really good. Everything's simple, but they're smart. And then they address, if you want to pull this up, the actual assassination. So that night they went to a theater to see a play. It was a funny play. Mr. Lincoln laughed a lot. He was having a good time. Suddenly there was a shot. At first, the people in the theater thought it was part of the play, but it was not. President Lincoln had been shot by a man who loved the Confederacy. Okay. Is this relevant? Yes.
Oh my goodness.
So anyway, not to be a downer, but it's just about, how important, even in this is just a children's book, and how accurate it is, and it's telling a very complicated life and the history of our country in a very simple way.
Wow, we need more of that.
Yes. All right,
and
we'll go on to the next one, which is really fun. This is Little Moo and the Circus. So no, this is not a book about if you're lactose intolerant. It has nothing to do with that. This was in 1945. You're going to love this because the graphics are spectacular. And it tells, of course, the fictional story of a little calf that runs off to join the circus. So we've all had these stories where kids are running off to join the circus. Why don't we show the next graphic. Look at these. Look at this. It's just
Oh,
every page is just wonderful. So here he is with his mom and dad. And then we can go, and then he decides to run away to join the circus. And you're thinking, well, this is going to be a great adventure. Although, that's not exactly how things work out in life, apparently. So this is why I collect these things, because invariably in children's books about the circus, there are always the sideshow. So you can see in the back, I don't have a half man, half woman, but I probably have a dozen books that always represent strong men. And this guy looks pretty hot. And half men and half women. And I always think that's interesting because it's kind of introducing to children gender. And this is 1945. This book was introduced, and okay, it's in a sideshow, but it's making kids look at things. If I'm different, is it okay that I'm different? Yeah, that's what you're going to end up in a sideshow. Not the point. but you're going to go on to the next one, and of course, we just follow his adventures. That the lion doesn't eat him, so like that's a good day. It's always a good day when the lion doesn't get to you. And then the seal pushes him down a slide. Not exactly sure what that's about. Basically, it's all his misadventures. But then it finally ends that he's adopted by two gay clowns, which I thought was really quite endearing. So they're not allowed to have children, but you can have a calf.
how do you know they're gay clowns?
Oh, please. Just look at those. They're color coordinated. How about that?
All right.
How about that?
Very good. So, do you have a wide selection of children's books at your store?
I do, and I do in my store. But again, these are from my personal collection. You can just go down the rabbit hole with kids' books in terms of different, if you want to do just the classics or fiction or things like this. I tend to like circus related stories because they always verge on just being just a little offensive or a bit like, oh, they went there. So I always find that endearing, and I wanted to share this with you today.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I consider you our sideshow.
Well, it's going to cost you $0.25 for the blow off.
All right, then. Thank you, Duane Scott Cerny. We'll see you the next time when you're up in my attic.
What's in your attic?
Thanks, Duane. Hey, while you're up in my attic, could you bring down my winter clothes, please? Thank you.